going to turn it over to our poets. I'm going to introduce our first poet, who is Christopher Marmolejo, M.A., a brown, queer, and trans writer, diviner, and educator. They use divination to promote a literacy of liberation. They were born and raised in San Bernardino, California, among the pines, in a community with the Havatiam clan of the Ra-Yam Serrano. Maybe I pronounced that correctly, maybe not. With 9+ years of experience as a trained educator focused on cultivating classrooms of emancipatory possibility, they work with students around the world to plant and nurture the seed of a divinatory practice, finely weaving tarot, astrology, and curanderismo with critical, decolonial, Black, queer, feminist, epistemology. Can't wait to hear Christopher. Over to you. Thank you so much for being with us, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Elise. Yes, again, I'm Christopher Marmolejo, as I like to say, part prophetess, part poet, part political participant. I recently published my first book, Red Tarot. I offer consultations, teach classes, and write to a growing community on Substack. And so we are here today to talk about poetry and social justice to read to you all during these apocalyptic times. And the word apocalypse in its Greek origin means to reveal, to uncover, to see. When the wretched of the earth arise, everyone's exposed and everything's out in the air. And so it calls on the expertise, the necessity of the prophet. Their voice must thunder like justice's condemnation. The masses are awakening in the uncovering of global corruption from white supremacist, capitalist, imperialist patriarchy, and we are being confronted, called to evolve. The prophetic vocation challenges the old while announcing the new. The poets, being poets, still won't shut up. The compulsion to tell this story transcends the borders of geography and language. The poets of prophecy suffer political persecution, and yet still they write. Still they sound their horns, still they fly their pens. What is it that these poets see as they look upon the same doomscapes we are suffocated by, and yet find breath that refuses to be baited? Nevertheless, we are still to benefit from the truth of their sight, a clarity of conviction to keep calling on freedom's potential in the face of injustice and inequity. Although our awareness of living through apocalypse is most felt under the weight of multiple global crises, can our awareness also encompass the poetry of truth-tellers? The apocalypse has lost its novelty. The global continuum of merciless hostility and neglect is inescapable. The light of a new day provides, does not diminish nor fade nor cure nor overcome the consequences of debasement and contempt. The flatlining of morale has become familiar. Without the poets of prophecy, it becomes impossible to imagine the important, the good. You push along slowly from one terrible loss to the next. For sure, you cannot save anything or anybody from the destruction that now preoccupies your mind. Evil is old, evil is long and powerful and everywhere. You unplug the telephone and call it a night. Despair becomes unavoidable under such states, and the spirit sinks in a miserable inertia. Our vision and awareness of oppression must grow in equal measure with our perception and capacity for pleasure, purpose, and beauty. We cannot long continue being radicalized at the expense of the vitality and vigor of a joyful, related life. Our sleeping hearts are not awoken by unceasing news of devastation. The pervasiveness of evil has a numbing quality. Its awfulness is somehow lost. The frightening has become mere entertainment. More challenging than overcoming all the costumery and cunning of evil's insidious conceit is wielding language to reveal the imaginal complexity of paradise. What sounds, images, stories of paradise seize the imagination to inspire the most rare character growth that becomes motivated to do good? Can we reach toward a vision of paradise that is not trivial in its familiarity of beauty, plenitude, rest, respect, love, bliss, or safety? Can these paradisal prisms be extracted from the capitalist media of consumption? As contemporary populations are indifferent to the language that moved our ancestors, God's language has been modernized and marketed to the masses. But in this marketable immediacy, contemplation is lost. What word would wound us with its immediacy, would cut the blindfolds from our eyes, and make it as if we were receiving the word for the first time? We are to seek the brilliant sermons, revelatory poems, and personal prayer language that both stun in their creativity and prosper in their healing properties. Maybe it is only the devout writer who holds an unblinking gaze upon the realm of difference that can freshen our vision of salvation. For those of us who can't see the way forward, other senses heighten. You learn to rely on sound to navigate the darkness, for it is sound that will awaken sight. The poets of truth may be imprisoned, lost, forgotten, or hidden, but their judgment will not be. I wonder, what do we do with a fate we lament? There's but a scornful glance at the God you believe in, but immediately abandons you. You distrust a personal will that does not exist, for your strength is summoned by attributing all to destiny. Faco, fatum, fadu. All refer first of all to a fate that erupts time, thrusting the fated into the midst of presence. The mouthpiece for divine decree trumpets an irreversible condition. What is and what will be require no symbolic intermediary. Thus, our human language is excessive as it deplores an inexorable death. Fado is more than a melancholic feeling. It is a disposition, a consciousness which recognizes its finitude. Fado is sensible existential wariness and its incumbent aimless flitter. To read red is to realize the body is a terminal. Again, prophets are also a place. Like the singer uses the whole body as their instrument, the oracle is barefoot with their aria. Both require a delivery of voice. So we are a singing oracle. So it is a somatic prophecy. Bodies reading bodies as God is a gentle whisper. This melancholy is discreet, for only those who allow themselves to frequent such prophetic places accustom its expression. It is a metaphysical comprehension, a consonant spiritual maturity achieved at the end of empire, at the moment of economic and political decline, as with Portugal. Its overseas empire collapses, but its language remains, pluralized, drifting over 5 continents. Fado is an interlude. It is the episode of interval between Brazilian, North African, and Portuguese, riding the rhythm of the seas, evoking the longing of irreparable loss. Com que vos chorare muy triste fado. With what voice should I lament my sad fate, sing my sad fado? We become prophet poets. We are Orpheus beheaded and bobbing up and down river. The lyre becomes our body, and every song we sing mourns the fate that kills us softly. We strum our pain knowing that we won't survive the end of empire. We are frail and we falter. Our strong souls are weary. Our gods are distant. Raise one hand, prick it, and revel in the realization that beneath the racialization that differently locates and classifies our specific bodies in time and place, red is the blood we will all spill. And the suffering we share means that when we call out in sorrow, the response of divinity will affirm a shared humanity. The blood is on all of our hands. It's haptic. You will feel red. Red reading attunes a synesthetic perceptual phenomenon of psychoactive yearning. Yearning for an answer, a direction amidst our existential drift, we vocally render our query. Images answer, vision is engaged, colors are heard, shapes have scent. The auger is a river with many cognitive tributaries. It is said to be soothsaying because the lyrical sedative we administer keeps dreams euphoric. Our prophecies arouse auroras of an alternate galaxy. It's a meditative head rush on organic hallucinogens of foreseeing. Songs of lamentation are supposed to keep us from cardiac arrest, but even as we blame the sun, don't we keep clutching our breasts, gasping for breath? In the nights, overwhelmed by God's tests, have we been left for dead? So to caress death, we contemplate what will manifest in the meantime. What might we write in the margins to make dead divinity's verb? It will be a conversation through conjuring a fringe consciousness in the shadow reflex of doubt. To wake us from our petrified thoughts, the climate conspires. Revolution is replete with zones of woe, spheres of marvel. Lightning inspires intuition, then thunderclaps of astonishment resound in the cavities of our bodies, so there is an echo of intimacy amidst strangers. In the intimation, the gods return, legitimate and listening. And so I wanted to read now and pay homage to one of my great poets, Martín Espada, a poet, essayist, translator, editor, and an attorney who has dedicated much of his career to the pursuit of social justice, including fighting for human rights and reclaiming the historical record. So I'll read this before introducing our next poet. And so this is Not for Him, The Fiery Lake of the False Prophet by Martín Espada. And he opens with this epigraph a bit, or this quote from Donald Trump. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending the best. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. Donald Trump, June 16th, 2015. They woke him up by pissing in his face. He opened his mouth to scream in Spanish, so his mouth became a urinal at the ballpark. Scott and Steve, the Leader brothers, celebrating a night at Fenway where the Sox beat the Indians and a rookie named Rodriguez spun the seams on his changeup to hypnotize the tribe. Later that night, Steve urinated on the door of his cell, and Scott told the cops why they did it. Donald Trump was right. All these illegals need to be deported. He was a Mexican in a sleeping bag outside JFK Station on a night in August, so they called him a wetback and emptied their bladder in his hair. In court, the lawyer spoke his name, Guillermo Rodriguez, immigrant with papers, crop picker in the fields, trader of bottles and cans collected in his cart. Two strangers squashed the cartilage in his nose like a can drained of beer. In dreams, he would remember the shoes digging into his rib cage, the pole raked repeatedly across his cheekbones and upraised knuckles, the high five over his body. Donald Trump was right, said Scott, and Trump said, "The people that are following me are very passionate." His hands fluttered as he spoke, a demagogue's hands, no blood under the fingernails, no whiff of urine to scrub away. He would orchestrate the chant of "Build that wall" at rally after rally, bellowing till the blood rushed to his face, red as a demagogue in the grip of masturbatory dreams, a tribute to the new conquistador, the wall raised up by Mexican hands, Mexican hair and fingernails bristling in the brick, Mexican blood swirling in the cement like raspberry syrup on a vanilla sundae. On the Cinco de Mayo, he leered over a taco bowl at Trump Tower. Not for him the fiery lake of the false prophet reddening his ruddy face. Not for him the devils of Puritan imagination shrieking in a foreign language and climbing in the window like the immigrant demons he conjures from the crowd. Not for him, not even for him, 10,000 years of the Leader brothers streaming a fountain of piss in his face as he sputters forever. For him, hell is a country where the man in a hard hat paving the road to JFK Station sees Guillermo and dials 911. Hell is a country where EMTs kneel to wrap a blanket around the shivering shoulders of Guillermo and wipe his face clean. Hell is a country where the nurse at the emergency room hangs a morphine drip for Guillermo so he can go back to sleep. 2,000 miles away, someone leaves a trail of water bottles in the desert for the border crossing of the next Guillermo. We smuggle ourselves across the border of a demagogue's dreams. Confederate generals on horseback tumble one by one into the fiery lake of false prophets. Into the fiery lake crumbles the demolished wall. Thousands stand, sledgehammers in hand, to await the bullhorns and handcuffs, await the trembling revolvers. In the full moon of the flashlight, every face interrogates the interrogator. In the full moon of the flashlight, every face is the face of Guillermo. So I asked my panelists, what is the role of the poet in the revolution and resistance? And so that is an open question, but I also will read Zoe, our next poet, Zoe Flowers, introduction here. And so Zoe Flowers is an artist, advocate, poet, and healing practitioner with a body of work encompassing various mediums with a diverse body of work featured in numerous anthologies, journals, and interviews. She is the author of From Ashes to Angel's Dust, A Journey Through Womanhood and in Praise of the Witch. Zoe is a sought-after speaker with over 300 conference appearances. Her work has been showcased at renowned events and institutions, including the Black Women's Arts Festival, Alternate Roots, the White House's United States of Women Summit, prestigious universities like Yale and Brown, and nationwide organizations. With a rich tapestry of experience and an unwavering commitment to social change and healing, Zoe continues to inspire and uplift individuals and communities on their path to empowerment and transformation. You're muted, Zoe.
Let me unmute myself. So thank you so much. Thank y'all for having me. Chris, thank you for your reading. I was just writing feverishly when you were reading the first piece, so many things, and thinking about our question about the role of the artist. And so some of the things that you said, the compulsion to tell the story, the pervasiveness of evil, numbs us. And so what that made me think of was the role of the poet or the role of the artist is to thaw that out, is to thaw out that numbing. It also occurred to me that the role of us is to frighten with our words, either frightening people into action or maybe eliciting a pause, and to tell the truth as we see it, and maybe even to tell some lies. So I'm going to read a couple of pieces, and then I will introduce Granddaughter Prim. We Black Girls 3, based on a true story. A soft place to land, a place without critique, a place with soft eyes and no work, no landmines emotional, a soft place to lay woolly head, cotton soft, a place with arms strong enough to hold the weight of the Black girl experience. Where is this place? We die looking for this place. We die looking for it in angry men's beds and in the arms of mothers who wasn't loved proper. We die looking for it in hateful sister circles. We die trying to be seen and heard and believed. We die trying to rebirth stillborn adults, using our good air on the undeserving. We stay dying, trying to be reborn in orgasm and organizing. A million indignities from womb to tomb. We get off hospital gurney if we make it and come home not to self, but to dishes unclean like we. A million indignities. We come home if we make it to groceries that need cooking and trash to be taken out like we. We come home to ourselves less and less, dodging think pieces about how we should best react to our trauma. Did they say trauma? Black girl trauma? Is she still talking about that? Best to not speak about your trauma, sister. Best to keep your fucking mouth shut. Stay pleasant and feminine. What about the people in Guatemala, sister? You don't have it so bad over here. Best to keep your mouth shut and suffer silently. You're more attractive that way. Your rage is not feminine or needed unless you're fighting for not you. Then your mouth should be open, wide, outstretched, receiving mode. On the front lines. There you can speak, sister. Then we will hear you, sister. Your voice is necessary, sister. What about them poor folks in Africa? What about the brothers, sisters? Your worries? No, stay quiet about that, sister. Dying in childbirth? No, 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 sister. Women die all over the world, sister. You say they treated you like shit from dusk to dawn? No, sister. It's about prison reform right now. See, there's people out there really suffering. You're just being selfish again, sister. It's not about your life. You got to get out. You got to get out and get people to vote, sister. That's the vibe right now. Lives is on the line right now. We'll get to yours later, we promise. Sincerely, the world. And the next one is the body politic. Our bodies are snatched, pinched, cinched. We be porn star thin, shaved bald and quietly itching. Our bodies snatched, cinched, pinched. We are addicts chomping at Kardashian bits. Our lives defined by likes and clicks. With bodies snatched, pinched, whipped. We are submissives, sculpted to the point of dismembering, constantly measuring, comparing and repairing. Our bodies stay snatched, pinched, stitched, flaws sewn in, asses packed tight like clubs, so exclusive that our spirits need reservations. And the last one I'm going to read is In Praise of the Witch. Earth, we are the elements. Stay close to the ground, omnipresent. 6 feet under, our mother's blood courses through veins, out our wombs, down our legs, feeding soil hungry. We are dirty with your sadness, different from anyone you know, omnipotent. We lick wounds and swallow sorrows, name ourselves goddess, are not afraid of the dark, call on God, angels, and ancestors when shit gets tight. We are round, full-figured, full of ourselves. Water. We bathe in basil and sea salt. We're shackled, but jump ship anyway. Sharks fed on our flesh. We are ocean now. You eat us unknowingly, drink us in, believing you can suck us dry and quiet our storms, but we are Oya. Settling accounts, we are Ma'at, shifting. You can't box us in, pin us down, or tell our story. Fire. We eat men whole when given the chance, burn sage, incense, candles, tools of the trade, dance under moons full. We are loud, alive, stretch things out to fit our shape. You itch to see us put in our place. We are witch, wise woman and crone burned at the stake. Air. But we are immortal. Reincarnated in the poems of our daughters, we are phoenix. Eyes in the back of our head, we are Sankofa bird. Live betwixt worlds, float through walls you build around us, blowing cigar smoke in your face, speaking out both sides of our mouths, seeing your future in eggshells. It's not looking good for you. Familiars at our side, we tag Miami, Haiti, and New Orleans with chalk circles. Drink with Legba at the crossroads, walk on water masquerading as poet, artist, and mama. We eat too many carbs, fall in love with men who are afraid to love us back, and turn our crooked noses up at your traditions. Jazz, poetry, and Sade are our religions. We are Black Cat crossing your path, that poem you wish you were smart enough to write, that rhyme you're too afraid to spit, fucking up the mood. We are the ejaculation that comes too quickly, gas on a crowded elevator, the uninvited party guest flirting with your boyfriend and eating all your food. An inconvenient truth. We are those shoes you can't afford to buy, that thing you hate but can't let go, those pants that are too tight around your waist now, the song that keeps playing in your head, that chick you know you're not good enough to bang, the one your mama warned you about. We are trouble, urban sprawl, haunting your daydreams. We are muse, inspiring you to get your game up, teaching by example. We are root worker, obia lady, and conjure woman, the scary broad living at the end of the road alone, glamoring you through forked tongues. We make miracles, and yes, motherfucker, we do ride on brooms. You should be afraid of women like us. Chastity belted, we fuck anyway. Do what we want to do, walk butt naked in the daytime, and come to you at night, carrying blessings and justice in our left hand, machetes and curses in our right. And that's in praise of the witch. So thank y'all for having me. I'm gonna introduce Granddaughter Crow. And my question is, what is the role of spirit in poetry and in social justice? Granddaughter Crow, Dr. Joy Gray, holds a doctorate in leadership, internationally recognized as a medicine woman. She comes from a long line of spiritual leaders as members of the Navajo Nation. She is an international award-winning author and poet. Her books include The Journey to the Soul, Wisdom of the Natural World, and Belief, Being, and Beyond. In 2024, she respects her lineage as she is an honored listee in Who's Who in America. Additionally, she is a Delta Mu, Delta Honor International Society in business member due to her academic achievements. She was also voted in as Woman of the Year by the National Association of Professional Women. She is a conduit for wisdom and transformation between the Western and the Native worlds. More than that, she has dedicated her life to inspiring, encouraging, and empowering individuals to be their authenticity. Granddaughter Crow.
Oh, thank you, Zoe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, first to kind of respond, I like that you responded to Christopher Marmolejo. Now I get to respond to you. What is the role of spirit? So Hegel, which is a philosopher, Patrick Hegel, you can look him up. He actually takes the word spirit and divides it into three different aspects: subjective spirit, objective spirit, and absolute spirit. Subjective spirit is myself to myself. These are our learnings around my psychology, my soul, my consciousness, subjective spirit. Objective spirit is outside of self, our collective. So these are the workings of our ethics, our human rights, our mortality, right? But absolute spirit, as defined by Hegel, is within the arts, the religion, and philosophy. There embodies objective spirit within the arts. So the beauty around arts and artists is that we don't have to stay in a certain lane or box. We go beyond, and we can always go, that's what I see. So I love it. I am going to read to you what I wrote. So first, Yaat-A, Yaat-A, Yaat-A. Hello in Navajo. They call me Granddaughter Crow. I am born to the Billigana clan for the Taachini clan. I'm a member of the Navajo Nation. I am living proof of the US government wanting to erase a people, a group, a culture. Yet here I stand. Let me show you how. Law and order, or moreover, ask a tree for its law, ask the sun for its order. Law and order, is there only one kind? I know man-made law because it causes us to go blind. They govern what we do. They tell us what we can't. They take away our rights and give us words to chant. Attacking groups labeled other fills me full of rage. They govern my female body, but my spirit can't be caged. Wait, is there only one law? Or do we have a choice? What are the other systems that will not take our voice? I have got a secret. As children, we all knew. With age, it can be forgotten, so I'm here to remind you. There is a larger system outside of man-made law, a system of the natural world, a system without flaw. The trees in my backyard adhere to only this, the laws within the natural world, evolution in its bliss. And there's a greater system beyond space, time, and creed. It's universal law, a system without greed, the law of cause and effect, the law of gravity, the law of feeling oneness, the knowledge within my tree. Man can change their laws, feel power and control, but it is always fleeting as they fear the sum of the whole. The sun will rise in the east, the only law it knows, and we could learn from this to rise each day and glow. The law that governs trees, the laws that carry birds, the unbreakable law within nature, the laws beyond mere words. So you may dictate my body, something that is a crime, but you will never cage my spirit. I fly through space and time. Yaat-A. They call me Granddaughter Crow. I am born to the Billigana clan for the Taachini clan, a member of the Navajo Nation. I am living proof of the US government wanting to erase a people, a group, a culture. Yet I am still here. And how do I do this? I am governed by the natural world. I adhere to universal law. I am ruled by a greater system, the system without a flaw. So that is what I offer to you in times where we feel as though this was the first time. It is not the first time we have been here. It is not the first time we have been here. Ask the other. So my question is, I'm going to pose a question of what do you do to inspire your art, and how does that inspire the people? What does it stir up? For me, I go into the natural world. When I'm out of balance and I feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, overtaken by what I hear, doom scrolling, think to myself, oh, my tree doesn't give a shit. And it grounds me. So I'm going to invite each of you to put yourself in the natural world. And I'm also going to individually ask you to answer within yourself. If absolute spirit is found in art, Be the artist. Maybe you're the poet that never picked up a pen. Maybe you are a painter that has never picked up a brush. Pick up the brush, people. Pick up the brush. So I am happy and honored to introduce Joan Gilfand. She's the author of 3 collections of poetry, a chapbook for short fiction and novel setting in Silicon Valley startup. Joan has taught for California poets in schools, the Writing Salon, and the San Francisco Writers Conference. In January 2024, Outside Voices, a memoir of the Berkeley Revolution, published by Post Hill Press, won the International Book Award for the U.S. history. Joan has appeared in national and international publications, including the Huffington Post, the LA Review of Books, the J, and the San Francisco Chronicles. If you want to see Joan's bio, she's also in Who's Who of America. So thank you, Joan, for being here. I turn it over to you.
Thank you. I still don't feel successful, just so that you know. I wanted to address Christopher's question, and of course, I'll answer all of yours as we get into a conversation, but I'm so inspired just being here and around your voices and with people coming to share with us. I think the role for me as an artist and a writer is it's a combination of comforting, healing, inspiring, and also this all-important mirroring of people's experience that they don't have words for. I think that's been the best part of being a writer, that, I write something authentic and I need to do it just to put it out there, and someone will come to me and say, oh my God, that's exactly how I felt, but I didn't have it in words. So to me, the giving voice to what people are, that's bothering them and rolling around, and that they don't have words for. So, and also I but nature inspires me, and also silence. I'm a big one for kind of dropping into meditation and silence, and that's a big healing for me. And during this last week, I've had to use silence as much as I can, because I feel very broken. I feel so discouraged. And so I'm just hoping I can get my energy back to be the warrior that I want to be. So I'm going to read, these are poems that I wrote, over a period of time. And sadly, some of these were written for another war, but they're sadly still appropriate. So I chose about 4 poems that deal with the issue of conflict and how we manage that. The first one is called War Rant. Elena says she wants more passion. Andrea quit reading the morning news. Yvette sees the devil wears Prada twice. Her savior is in fashion. I check on emails, avoid overlong queues, await a daily dose of inspiration, wondering each day if I've paid enough dues. Adam watches the blogosphere for flash mobs, trends, and hotspots, and we all fret about the biosphere, while white girls don't do much hip hop. But for me, I can't help it. Rhythm and words are my companions, true and loyal. So forgive me now if I don't exactly know how to do it. Just say this is a rant, peace, and love style. I want to save the world, do it now. Don't get caught by indecision, paralysis, missteps, or overwrought. But the world and I have conflicting views on how to end this madness. Stop the bombing, end the wars. I cry, but no one listens to my news. Night times glisten with the sweat of murder, mayhem, slaughter, faction killing faction, Shiite, Sunni, Kurd, Why? We're all mothers, fathers, daughters. I could just go over there, I think, land smack down on the pavement. I'd put on my white gloves and make a stink, shout, what a horror, while dancing on the griddle of hot sand and tar. There is no left, no right, no middle. Stop the killing, end the riddle. But I'd be dead before you could say red. And then I think, if not now, when? Wasn't it I who called myself a warrior? Each day, new news arrives stinking, reeking with tragedies undreamed, tidal waves, heat waves, bodies downstream, a wave of bombings on an unsuspecting train. We seek for terror, but what about DC? We can explain. I voted right, I mean left, is my persistent refrain. I took myself off the list of dinner parties where people complain of gas prices and fish prices and politics not spoken, because I'm sick of being powerless, feeling broken. So come on, people, do one thing today for peace. Save a tree, save a child, sign a paper, beg for release of fighters and lovers, for peaceniks and hippies. This battle of West meets East is not exactly what we ordered. And this is something that to me is a real paradox, how the writer is both creating and also living in the world and managing these really two separate realities. So I try to capture this in this poem, which is called While I Am Writing. While I am writing, San Pancho sizzles, cockatoo shivers, hibiscus branch, orange flowers tremble, babbled bird conversation, sky calling, sun seducing, so distracting. While I am writing in San Pancho, black chicken tiptoes into yard, shrugs, cackles, birds whistle, low thrum delivered from static radio, television, mothers scolding. While I am writing in San Pancho, Nettie instructs Suzanne in guitar fingerings, charms with Latin songs of longing, plays with Spanish inflection, great and total affection. While I am writing in San Pancho, trucks bounce on cobbled streets, wrecked shocks, megaphone hawks, agua puro, camarones, flogas. While I am writing in San Pancho, the Pacific pounds, white sand bakes, cocoa fronds, a debutante skirt rustle. Frigate birds swoop, swallows dive, parrots sing, Asta, Asta. While I am writing in San Pancho, Haiti digs out its dead, searches collapsed structures, howls its loss. While I am writing in San Pancho, the world is living and turning, loving and shaking, yelling and birthing, selling and buying, living and dying. And then there's just two short ones here. This one is called Holy War. As attack plans rolled out like black carpets from cyberspace, carpets of a million hand-tied knots were beaten, soldiers were beaten, children were beaten. Still, the fragrance of mock orange blossoms waft past my window in the night. As the earth is warming and species devolving, tall pines and wooded paths wind around a secret trail. As plots of terror are calculated, armies dispersed, the moon dances, waxes, and wanes. Even as time is rushing and you are rushing and we worry about this holy war, there is a beautiful timelessness. And if you look, if you breathe deeply, nature is holding your hand, going down with the rest of us. And the last one. This poem, I wrote so many years ago, but I tell you, my own work inspires me sometimes. I wrote this poem when I was in my master's program, but I still love it, and it's really called out to me today. And it's called Even If. Even if you hadn't lost your father, your child, your first true love, your country, that cord wraps its music around your heart. That cord is cut. The one that connected you and pulled you, embraced you with its sweet and sad notes. That first sorrow, even if there weren't fratricide, infanticide, homicide, genocide, even if there weren't Somalia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Beirut, Baghdad, even if you hadn't lost the game, the race, the job, the chance, that cord wraps around your heart. That cord is cut. Even if your house is warm, your belly full, your money's in the bank, your house is insured, and your life too, that cord wraps around your heart. That cord is cut. Thank you.
So Deb's going to go ahead and field the questions that we might have from people. You can put your questions in the chat and who they're directed to. And that way we could probably get to more than we would with the raised hands thing. So if you have questions for our poets, if you could go ahead and just make a note of who you want us to reach out to and what your question is.
Thank you, Kat. And I'm also putting the guest book link in the chat. So please connect with each other and share your information. We're all in this together. I think that's, a common theme through our events, and especially through this meeting. We're definitely more powerful together than alone. And Joelle wrote, Christopher, are you a musician or do you have music experience? There was so much great musical imagery in your work. Agree. Chris?
Thank you, Joelle. I'm not a musician, but I do love to sing. I sing every day, every morning, like all the time. I'm that neighbor. And really music is very inspiring to me in terms of both like prophecy, but also just like hearing obviously the flow, the harmony, the cadence of the words. I sometimes feel like I'm writing lyrics, in that way. So thank you.
And the next question, it says for any to answer, but I kind of feel like you all should. How do you remain inspired at this time? And have you noticed that has changed lately?
Well, I'll answer that just in a little snippet and say that the truth is I'm not inspired right now, and I'm just holding on by my fingernails, and I'm just feeling confident that it will come back. So, a lot of us are traumatized and it's hard. And that's how I feel in this moment.
Thank you for sharing that. You are not alone in that. We also got a question about links and things. So I'm just putting the recap or the event post, which has everybody's bio and the names of their works. But the author is speaking today. If you've got book links that you want to put in the chat, please feel free. And who else wants to answer how you or do you remain inspired at this challenging time?
I can answer that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for me, it's definitely my spiritual practices helps me to pull myself up out of the depths if I get too low, I think. So spiritual baths, things like that definitely keep me inspired. I think also being around little people, I'm actually surrounded by a lot of like little children my friends' grandchildren. So that inspires me. But yeah, it's definitely been just not even last week, but the whole year has been challenging for me personally. So inspiration has been hard to grasp, but I feel like my spiritual practice is pulling me back.
Good. It's important to have those things that you know you can rely on to re-energize your soul, your spirit. Granddaughter Crow, do you want to answer?
Yeah, I would have to say that I am the answer to the prayers of my ancestors. And what can I do with that? That's what I think motivates me a lot. We are all the answer to our ancestors' prayer. No matter where you come from, what type of body you have, what belief system, our ancestors struggled in one way, shape, or form. And they wanted us to get here. And now we're here. What are we going to do with that? So I guess a sense of responsibility.
That's beautiful.
Because we are the legacy, and we have to do everything in our power, even when we don't want to, I think, to spread the messages people need to hear.
Hmm.
Chris?
Yes, I think it's obviously, I mean, I would say a mix. This past since this lunation cycle, I mean, we're here at this Taurus full moon tomorrow, but um I definitely have not felt inspired. I felt paralyzed. I felt, which is very, I have a pretty big capacity in terms of like I work with a lot of clients and a lot of students. Um and so I'm helping to process just on like these issues are ongoing, obviously, but obviously become very potent at moments like this, right? And so for me, it is a lot of spiritual work. It is a lot of being in nature, a lot of music, and then at the same time having a larger encompassment of the work. Like for instance, like from what I was reading, a lot of my work is focused on like poets of lamentation and like moving into like rather than trying to be up always and light and like rather to actually give grief, to process, to purge, to mourn and whatnot. And like how can I find voice through that?
Thank you. Okay, well, we are just past 1 o'clock. Does everybody, I would just love for all of our panelists today to just share like one thought that you want everybody here to take with them out into the world. Chris, do you want to start us? Oh, and also I'm putting in the chat, please consider becoming a member. If you want, or if you have not already, please sign up with your email address so you'll get notifications on our upcoming events and connect with each other. And hopefully we will see you next week, and if not, soon. And I hope I've given you enough time to think of your final thoughts. So Chris, final thought to leave people with?
Thank you. It would, yes, I mean, it's really just to keep reading, to keep writing, and to keep listening, like just to continue archiving yourself and to read the archive of writers, of political participants and resistors who have come before, because that will give you a greater sense of, that will give you just a greater depth rather than feeling afraid in this particular moment. You'll connect to a larger trajectory and add yourself to that trajectory. So that's all I'd say.
Thank you. Zoe, you want to go next?
Sure. So as it is still Scorpio season, I think for me, the thing to think about is what can be released, what can be shed, and what can be embraced at this time. So yeah, this is definitely a shedding time. So not being afraid of the shedding.
Love that. And I love your classes too. I have not said that yet. There's such a statement and they're so you. I think I mean, all of our speakers today, your personas emit who you are, which is such a strong part of being able to spread your message. Granddaughter Crow.
So I want to say a couple of things. I want to talk just briefly that there is an external world and then there's an internal reality. And it is not the bee's job to teach the fly that honey tastes better than shit. So I heard that on social media. I don't know who said it, so I don't know who to quote, but you know, and I want each of us to be honest with ourselves in the depths of whatever this is that we're feeling. Don't ignore it. Don't turn a blind eye. Don't like express it. Know what you feel and know what makes your internal reality feel safe, because a lot of our internal reality does have to do with DNA, our bodies. For women, it does have to do with these things. And then find a community of like-minded people so that you don't go down this rabbit hole by yourself, and we can kind of all tumble down it together. And finally, talk to the tree, talk to the sun. And, yes, it's true. Global warming does care about the environment, and my tree cares about that. But at the end of the day, once you choke down all this stuff, if you are feeling out of balance, go simple. Go sit in the grass. Go simple. They can cut our wings and cage us, our bodies, but they can't touch those birds. Don't be caged.
Love that. Thank you. Joan, you want to wrap us up, my friend?
I read something that says, this is from Rebecca Solnit. I thought it was so beautiful. She says, okay, I can't remember, but it's along the lines of, do not give in advance. Oh, here. Authoritarians like Trump love fear, defeatism, and surrender. Do not give them what they want. And so I would just say the same thing as everyone else. Community, self-care. And I think even though we might want to pull in, maybe do what's counterintuitive and come out and connect.
Thank you. Yes, it is a balance, right? We need self-care more than ever, but we also need to get our messages out there because we can, and we do make a difference in just who we are. And what a wonderful, important event today. Thank you all, our speakers. Thank you, Kat and Elise, for putting this together. And thank you all attendees for taking some time today to be in this wonderful space with us all. And we hope to see you soon.